Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Looks like you can. I'm a little late. Apologize for that. I'm just going to check the three places that I'm at. If I'm live on all of them, it looks like I am. Give me 1 second. Yes. Okay, good. All right. Uh, this will be a long review, a few weeks possibly, because it's 12 issues, so it's one issue each episode. That's all I'll be able to do. I'm not gonna read, I don't think some of the stuff, some of the supplemental stuff, like the pirate story. I think that was completely gratuitous. It's supposed to echo the main story. It's like, yeah, sure, but completely extra for no reason. But I will read the entire thing, and I won't read the under the hood. I think, or try to have double meaning for that. Under the hood, the masks, and also he's under the hood, a mechanic, Hollis Mason. Maybe that's the point. If it's even called Under the Hood, I think it is. Anyway, I just wanted to show you also. I went through a number of things before, the annotated Watchmen here and there, and some of it was just a little too I don't know, too detailed, and then also it's very funny when you read that, right, the annotated Watchmen, you find out that the first number of pages, they're pretty detailed, right? Like really long annotations on the side. And then Rorschach comes in, it's like nothing. When he's at the bar, there's nothing about him. Why not? Why not? Why not, expand on the idea that you're using the Ditko's question to be a replacement for him? And then I read also this. I got a little something going on. I was a little late for a few minutes. Hell, Marcus. I got a little, I don't know. I hope I'm okay. Got some sniffles going on. Anyway, so Alan Moore wrote a number of things. The world, right? The world building, and then the characters, right? And in this, the large version, the absolute edition, and here's the what do you call it? The slipcase. I also have Watching the Watchmen, which is another book as well. Give me 1 second. I should see something here that it did pop up on the other thing, but let me see if it's actually here. Okay. I guess it didn't pop up there. Huh. Anyway, um, so he discussed Captain Atom, right? Because the initial idea was that he would be using the Charlton characters, the ones that Ditko had a hand in. I mean, Ditko drew Captain Atom. He drew and he created the question. He also wrote, I believe, wrote and drew the Blue Beetle. So he had a hand in a lot of this, and so my point is that here he is. He's discussing Manhattan, right? Or Captain Atom at first, actually. His first notes were about Captain Atom for 3 pages, 3 full pages, right? A lot of text, a lot of stuff going on. Hey, Flatty, by the way, that Iron Man book came earlier than they said it would, so very, very cool. Thanks a lot, man. I began to read it the other day. I'm shocked that I didn't know about it. Just flat out shocked. And I like Ross better than Bright as the penciler or the layout artist. So very, very cool. I'm gonna finish it very soon. I'll let you know. Anyway, so he had like 3 pages for Dr. Manhattan, right? Then he has on 3 pages, 2 pages for Ozymandias, right? With a lot of text here. The original notes were for Thunderbolt, which was what Ozymandias was based on from the Charlton characters, right? 2 pages, right? And then he had 2 pages for Night Owl, a lot of text as well. And then for the main characters, the way I see it, the main characters, absolutely, I'm enjoying it as well. There's some heavy moment in there. I was like, holy shit! I was actually surprised that they did that. It's pretty brutal, also. Um, then they have one page for Rorschach, who's the main character. I don't care what anyone thinks or says or more or whatever. He narrates the entire book through his journal, right? It's only one page. And that was the initial suit. It would have been crazy, a full body suit, right? And it was based on the question, so he had all these notes about the question. And then in red ink, he discusses the fact that he had to change it to another character. And also the comedian, only one page. And I don't think it's by accident. I think the ones that he's more ideologically aligned with, he gives a lot more thought to, a lot more preparation to, a lot more consideration to. I just do. And the ones that he can't stand, very little. Even though, again, Rorschach is a standout. You take out Rorschach, it's nothing. It's not a great book at all. It just isn't. But I just wanted to mention that. And also, the comedian was based on Peacemaker. I always saw him like a pervert version of Captain America, like Nick Fury. He's based on Peacemaker, the character that's in the current, that, what's the name, is obsessed with, I guess. James Gunn, 2 seasons, guys, 20 episodes of C-list character, at least, maybe D-list. Creature Commandos, dedicate a lot of time to that. Dedicate a lot of time to Peacemaker. He did Superman, no Batman, no Wonder Woman, no Flash. What the hell, man? Now there's supposed to be a Jimmy Olsen TV show with Gorilla Grodd. It's like you're taking a Flash's enemy to give it to Jimmy Olsen. What the hell's going on here? It's a mess. And I don't know if you guys heard the reports also about the Lanterns, but I guess you'll see it coming out, I think, next month or this month. Doesn't sound too promising for Hal Jordan, let me just say that. And if that is the case, that's these guys are just looking for trouble. All these filmmakers, they're just looking to get their last woke shit past us when it's more or less killed the industry. Christopher Nolan, he fucked up. He fucked up. There would have been a lot of people who would have wanted to watch The Odyssey, myself included, and he's given us reasons not to. He's given us reasons not to. Many reasons. The stunt casting, which is pathetic. And I was mocking him. I said, Christopher Nolan cast a 2-eyed actor to play the goddamn Cyclops in The Odyssey. What the hell, man? There's no Cyclops can't relate to it, right? Anyway, I just wanted to show you that this short takes on these main characters, and I'm not going to withhold. This book is now 40 years old, so I'm not going to withhold everything about it that I know. I'm not going to save it for later. You guys, I don't recommend, if you never read this, I do recommend you guys reading it. I recommend you reading it. You should not experience it this way for the first time. This is meant to be read directly, and that's that. It should be read directly. In your own mind, make your own, conclusions about it. But I'm going to take the full context of the story in mind as I read this. Everything that I know about it, I'm not going to hold back. So spoilers galore. Okay, what's coming, what's happening as it's happening. Something that's revealed later, I will mention it early on. This is the full context of the Watchmen. It's not. Again, it's not to be read this way. So if you haven't read it, no, some of you might not care. You maybe have no intention to read it. I do hear some people like, why would I read that? It's like, well, I think it's important to read it, especially if you like comics. I think it's a great piece of work that is infuriating at times. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I definitely do. As you'll see, I won't be able to bite my tongue with certain parts about certain things. Like Moore, he's a goddamn, calls himself an anarchist, whatever. He's a goddamn commie. That's what he is. The first chance he gets, even in the story, right? When the introduction of Dr. Manhattan, electric cars, because Dr. Manhattan is like, okay, how? Why? Because then he wants to do that. He sees America as the problem, and he sees the Soviets as a potential victim because we have Manhattan and they don't. Therefore, the Soviets are a little timid and afraid. Oh, sure. Yeah. If they had Manhattan, what would they do? What would they do? If they can control him, if he was one of their own, you think they would be timid? Anyway, and what did they do with Manhattan? Did they run roughshod across the world? No. No, Alan Moore. They didn't. That's what Russia would have done. But he's sympathetic with the Russians and the Soviets. And again, there's a popular picture of him with a sickle and hammer T-shirt, right, in the 80s. Oh, that's just as he's wearing that. Have you guys who are non-communists ever wore that? Ever? Have you ever wore a sickle and hammer T-shirt? I never have. I'm not a communist. So communists were trying to cover up for him. Anyway, I'm gonna read a few comments here and then get going. Marcus Kelger writes, the character I'm working on, the public eye on the question and Rorschach, is a lot of fun. What do you mean about the public eye on the question and Rorschach? Is it a character somewhat based on them? Let me know, Marcus. Please, I saw Rorschach as kind of like the brutally honest Jiminy Cricket of the book, like the unvarnished soul of the story. Not sure if that's a proper view, but just how. Yeah, he's the only honest narrator narrator in the book. He's the only one who tells things as it is. Yeah, he's pretty jacked up considering his origin, considering his upbringing or lack thereof, right? Raised by a whore, no father in sight, sent to live in this hellhole, getting beaten up, ugly, being called ugly and being beaten up over it and so on. It's pretty ugly existence. But okay, all good, Marcus. Very, very cool. Yeah, I mean, I had potential ideas like when I was before 9/11 and all that. When I was thinking about comic books and writing them and drawing them, I said, man, I probably would like to get my hands on the question because DC owned him, and maybe if I got to mainstream, I would do that. And that's long gone. That's not even a possibility. But I can definitely create. I got other characters in mind outside of Pigman. Other adventure characters and so on that would be leaning towards that at least along those lines. But again, with a narrative. I gotta get this out of here. Actually, I gotta close this off. 1 second. I don't want to show you guys too much. The bottom right there is something that I'm working on right now, but I don't want to. I gotta close that. Huh. Okay. I gotta work on that right after I'm done with this. Got some sniffles going on. I hope I'll be okay. Anyway, enough wasting time here. Let's dive in. It's been 13 minutes to get prepped here. Okay, this is the deluxe edition. I never liked the choice of Gibbons for that blood. It looks like, I don't know, watermelon jelly. Excellent, Jimmy. How's it going, man? Glad you're here. Glad to have you guys here. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Yeah, I never liked the watermelon type jelly because that's what it looks like to me. Is watered down. That's supposed to be blood. It's ridiculous. I know it's supposed to be not realistic per se, but you got to get it to some realism. I mean, make it blood red at least. But here are the main characters here, and again, Captain Atom becomes Dr. Manhattan. The Nightshade becomes Silk Spectre. The Blue Beetle becomes Night Owl. The question becomes Rorschach. And Peacemaker becomes the comedian. And what was this? 1 second. What was it? 1 second. second. Ozymandias is Charlton's Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. Again, these are characters that they were, like the idea is that, what do you call it? The comedian is not necessarily exactly um, Peacemaker, but that was the jumping off spot that Moore took. Because again, he wanted to do the Charlton characters. DC at some point said, you know what, we're going to save them for the DC universe. We're going to integrate them within the DC universe. They didn't do much with them, to be honest. They had Blue Beetle comics. They had Captain Atom and stuff, but the Question was not good. It was Denny O'Neil trying to hippie him up, in a terrible way. Not good. Anyway, so here's that iconic yellow of the series on the side of each, and also they wanted a different look, and I applaud them for that because it was on the side of the page was the title. I like that, yellow and black, very very uniquely Watchmen, very uniquely Watchmen, and that's it works on the cover, but again that blood is just so bad. It looks so soft and watered down and limpy. It's weak. Okay. Peter Cannon created by Pete Morrissey. And also a number of these characters, they were, I think, co-created and also created by Ditko from, if I'm not mistaken, Captain Atom to Blue Beetle to The Question, clearly. Yeah, Headless Bourgeoisie. And also, I believe, Peacemaker to the comedian Moore suggested that it was a far cry from the Peacemaker, but that was the jumping off point. And again, he's called Peacemaker, but I see a Nick Fury, a corrupted Captain America, a government agent who will do anything that the government asks him to do. But what he likes to do, I think, at least what you pick up on from the attitude that Moore has for him and stuff, the contempt he has for him, you could tell he has complete contempt for him and Rorschach. He describes, keep in mind, again, guys, if you haven't read it, go read it. Don't watch this. The contempt he has for Rorschach in his notes, his initial notes, he calls him like a psychopath. Even in Question, he calls a psychopath. The Question. Okay? That's where he comes in, talking about this, right? Doesn't call the mass murdering Ozymandias a psychopath. Doesn't call the murderous Dr. Manhattan a psychopath. And again, I'm going to read this with the full context of my knowledge. I'm not going to say, you know what, I'll wait. I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to spoil everything. Everything that I know, I'm going to spoil. I'm going to let you, in on the story. So this is a review, I guess, but it's an overview, my thoughts on it. I recently reread it. Probably the most enjoyable time I've ever read, because of the conversations I was having with the person I was reading with here and there. That's what made it really interesting to me, because I never articulated the thoughts that I had about it as much as I did in the recent reread. So here we go. Let's get going. Thanks for your patience. Let's get going. And I think every time they show a clock, the idea was that they would always have it close to midnight, even if it's, daytime, close to noon, right? But close to the midnight hour, close to the 12 o'clock a.m. or p.m. I'm not going to go through this stuff here. In these modern things also, it's so weird because you get to see only Dave Gibbons involving himself with the adaptations, books like this, the annotated version, and sometimes they don't even name Alan Moore. He's not even named. It's very strange, but that's how Alan Moore wanted it. It's like, okay. And again, he has this notion where he was so arrogant in 1988, a year after he said he finished writing it, right? Like he cleansed himself of superheroes, I don't have to deal with it anymore. It's like, dummy, This is what you're most known for. What you will be most known for. That's a fact. Everyone knows that. He knows that, but I think he resents it. He's like, "Fuck, I'm gonna try to do some other stuff. Yeah, it's nice, nice guy, make me laugh, but it's not gonna happen." And the contempt he has for himself, for his own work here, is terrible. I can't imagine looking at my work with such a disdain. I can't. I love my work. I try to do the best I possibly can. I hope it lasts, long after I'm gone. Um, hey, Happy's Funhouse. Very, very cool. Um, okay, so you did read it. Again, any of you who haven't read it, go read it. It's worth reading, and then maybe check this out when you're done. And again, I can't say it next time when part two will come and so on, but they'll come. But this will be a dozen, streams. So, um, and if you haven't seen the animated recent 2024 version, it's very good. The animation's fantastic. The acting's good. And again, let me just show you something quick here. Rorschach's Journal. I'm going to read the whole thing like this. I'm joking. I hate that. I really do. Titus Welliver is a great actor. Laid it on too thick. Not as thick as the movie guy. I've got his name. The three-name guy, I guess. Actors who are not that significant, they always have three names. Writers and so on. But Rorschach's Journal. Not unnecessary. It's unnecessary. You hear his voice slightly less gravelly at times, Welliver in the animated version, and I like it. I prefer it. And when they go back in time, his voice is a little less. When he becomes full-blown Rorschach is when they put the real gravelly stuff. But again, it's annoying. But little details like this, right? You got, and if you don't know, the end is nigh, right? That's Walter Kovacs. That's Rorschach. He's walking over this bloody spot here. He wants to be here. And he's like, what the hell? He's walking over it, over the blood. And you got all the footsteps with the blood there. And that guy's giving him the finger. The street cleaner, look at this. He's like, what the fuck? That was mentioned in the script by Moore. It's blink and you miss it, but it's there. Happy's Funhouse writes, again, guys, this is freewheeling. I'm going to go back and forth between the comments. And Happy's Funhouse writes, do you like any of the Watchmen spin-offs, the comics or the show? I didn't love the show, but I thought I expanded on some ideas of the comic in interesting enough ways. I hate the show. I tried. You got, again, they can't help themselves. These leftists, these subverters, they can't help themselves. They subvert everything. Dr. Manhattan's black all of a sudden. It's the same character, right? But he's, all of a sudden, John Osterman is black. And he's black, and he looks weird with that blue paint. The actor, Mateen, who played also Wonder Man. It doesn't work. It didn't work. And then Rorschach he inspired a racist revolt by some skinheads who found him to be their hero. Pathetic. That main actress was not a lead. You don't have her as a lead. She's not charismatic enough. She's not a good enough actress. Not good. Not good at all. Had nothing to do with the book, with the story. It was a complete reimagining in the worst sense. So no, I did not like it. The movie, I liked the idea that Ozymandias tries to blame Manhattan for the attack. I thought that was interesting. It makes mankind, unite against this superhero threat, this super being threat. I like that. And who knows, maybe they only did that because the budget, DC, Warner Bros. Was like, all right, Zack Snyder, I don't think we're going to do that whole, squid thing, okay? So think of something less costly. It's very possible. But regardless how it came about, I like that. I like that ending. I like the fact that it was different from the novel, that you didn't expect it watching the movie. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, the spin-offs I didn't care for before Watchmen. Even though some of the art was good in some of the series, even the Darwin Cook stuff, couldn't really get into it. I think this is uniquely Alan Moore's and Dave Gibbons. It's like having a Dark Knight sequel without Frank Miller anywhere in sight. You know, him not a, like he co-wrote, I think, The Master Race with Brian Azzarello. Better than Dark Knight Strikes, The Dark Knight Strikes Back. But better than that. We open up with a very, very, very close-up shot of comedian's pen with his blood on it, and all his blood is here. And Rorschach's journal, October 12th, 1985. Dog carcass in alley this morning. Tire tread on burst stomach. The city's afraid of me. I have seen its true face. Again, a dark carcass in an alleyway. Maybe it's an allusion to what happens later in the real origin of Rorschach. Maybe. I think the annotated edition implied that. The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood, and when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam about their waists, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us!" And I'll look down and whisper, "No." They had a choice, all of them. They could have followed in the footsteps of good men like my father or President Truman. I think he has a fantasy version of his father. Never met his father. But he needs to believe that he was a decent guy in order, I think, to try to make his existence feel more meaningful. Decent men who believed in a day's work for a day's pay. Instead, they followed the droppings of like lechers and communists. Is it lechers? I think it's lechers. And communists, and didn't realize that the trail led over a precipice until it was too late. Don't tell me they didn't have a choice. Now the whole world stands on the brink, staring down into... Now this is, again, the fears of the irrational Alan Moore, thinking, nuclear war, nuclear war, nuclear war. Yeah, this would happen. And everyone's as afraid as I am. No, nope. We were counting on this enemy, the Soviets. They live on this earth. They're atheists, right? They don't believe in the afterlife. So they're self-preservation. That's what you can count on. The guys are not flying planes into buildings and flying into paradise. Those guys are going to worry about in terms of nuclear threat. The Russians, they want to live and rule. They want to take over the earth. They don't want to, be annihilated on their way towards that. So that's what you can count on. They're the self-preservation factor, the fact that they're more rational than the Islamic enemy. Don't tell me they didn't have a choice. Now the whole world stands on the brink, staring down into bloody hell. And again, brink, right? Dr. Manhattan can take out all the nukes of Russia. He can do that. He can do anything. He can pop up on the Mars. He can do that. He doesn't choose to, but he can do that. That's why, the imagination is limited, because Moore wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to have this most all-powerful being, but not have him do things that are obvious. Like this nuclear threat never had to happen. Again, if they're threatening us, if they have nukes, take out their nukes. Disable them. Whatever, so on. Now the whole world stands on a brink, staring down into bloody hell. It's as if we don't have Dr. Manhattan in this story, the way Moore writes this. Because again, he's mistaking his own view of what was happening in the world at the time with his fantasy version. You got to go all in. And that's why when the comedian discovers the plot, Ozymandias' plot, he's like, he doesn't do anything about it. He goes to Moloch and cries, bitches and moans, and drinks, gets drunk. Do something about it. Tell the government, tell the media, tell Rorschach, tell some people that you could trust. Tell Dr. Manhattan, so on. Stop him from doing this. Instead, he watches TV, fucks around. After he finds out, he discovers the plot on that island, comes back and just operates as if nothing happened, because that's, again, Moore having contempt for himself and the story and the character. He's like, I just want to see him dead. I want to see that kind of character dead from page 1. That's what I want. And I want the other character, the other right-wing character, dead by the end. So I want to bookend it with the deaths of two non-leftist characters. Um, Now the whole world stands on the brink, staring down into bloody hell. All those liberals, intellectuals, and smooth talkers, and all of a sudden, nobody can think of anything to say. You got the cop looking down. He goes, that's quite a drop." This was Dave Gibbons chose a 9-panel grid. Ditko made that popular. I don't know if he created it, but he made it popular. In Spider-Man, he used that a lot. He deviates from it a little at one point. I think he's at 4 panels across at one point, coming up soon. I have a 16-panel grid for my current project, and again, it's broken up sometimes. Sometimes the whole side of it will have the 4 panels, like a tall one, or across the 4 panels and so on. Sometimes deviate a little, but it's nice to have that kind of grid in your mind. It's just a nice, I don't know, it's a nice way to have that, to design a story, because it's going to be dense. First of all, the one that I'm doing now is very dense, so I have to have that many panels, and at times there are the 16 panels completely, at times, but not often. Like this, he breaks up the 9-panel grid a lot here. I just like it. I like having that kind of opportunity to stick to a certain plan and say, "Oh, okay, I'll deviate a little, but that's the basic outline, my visual outline." Because, yeah, poor guy, I always wonder, do you think you black out before you hit the sidewalk or what? Frankly, I don't need to know that bad. That's good dialogue. Again, Moore's a very good writer. I don't give a shit, it doesn't matter, other words, what I think of him ideologically, politically, and all that stuff, all that crap that he spews, to the point where now he makes it a habit of coming out there. "I hate superheroes." Okay, bitch, we get it. But you'll forever be known for your superhero work. So you can cry about it, but you can keep tell us that as well. Who gives a shit? Just to say to speak of that. 1 second. Give me 1 second. I just want to see if I can find it actually. I don't know. It's interesting the way this happens. Give me 1 second, guys. Again, I'm going to go all over the place here. I hope you guys don't mind. I made 2 things I'm going to show you guys. Here's Alan Moore, the anarchist, right? The anarchist, sure. Sure, Alan. I wrote this 7 years ago. I said, if you've read the Watchmen comic book series, this picture that a friend posted of its writer, Alan Moore, helps explain why he treated the right-wing anti-communist characters in the story the way he did. The series is bookended with 2 events that make his political bias crystal clear. Moore has claimed to be as politically neutral as leftist social media has claimed to be. But even so, the Watchmen TV show makes Moore seem subtle in his leftism, the one that you mentioned before. Moore was smart enough or stupid enough to try to bring Steve Ditko's objectivist heroes down to size in the character of Rorschach, and despite his best efforts, the character is the only real compelling one in the story. Oh, and I know someone out there is going to angrily argue that Moore wearing a communist hammer and single t-shirt proves nothing. Sure, because non-communists and anti-communists are always wearing communist symbols, to be ironic. Again, he bookends Watchmen with 2 events dealing with 2 of the most anti-communist characters, not an accident. And that, and also something else I'm going to show. I just like these little nuggets here that I'm over the years, because every time he came out there and farted out about how he hates superheroes, I'm like, all right, bitch, I'm going to write about you. Uh, so he also came out. I'm retiring. I'm retired from comics. Like, okay, no one really noticed, but um, and I drew this. Let me show you his epitaph. Let me show you the epitaph that I drew of Moore. It's a grassy plain, right? It's a tombstone, but it's a little different than your average tombstone. Let me show you. So here's the tombstone that I drew. Right, Alan Moore. All the grass is his beard. I hate superheroes. I hate superheroes. It's like, okay, I think you hate the fact that you'll be known for them. That's the thing you'll be mainly known for, Watchmen. And if that's the case, good. I love comics, and I hate guys who hate superheroes. So anyway, well, let's get back here. Just wanted to share that. Let's get back here. I hate superheroes. Let me read a few comments and get going again. Yeah, Marcus Tiswelver is great. Great actor, great attitude. He's a fanboy also, loves comics, loves superheroes. Happy's Funhouse writes, did Alan Moore actually mean to bookend the story with right-wing deaths? I never noticed that. Was it intentional on his part, do you think, or just subconscious coincidence? I mean, I read it that way. Whether he intended or not, he did it. That's an observation that I had. I was like, wait a minute. It takes out the right-wing character for issue 1, the other right-wing character, issue 12. Boom. He bookended it. And again, he gave them short shrift when it came to his notes also. He has contempt for them. It's obvious. And he describes Ozymandias in very florid terms. He's like, he's intelligent, he's handsome, he's this. It's like, yeah, I know you're in love with him. And you could tell, through the book. He basically leaves it off the page when the comedian kicks his ass. He leaves it off the page. I want to draw that one day. Maybe for Kings or something. I do want to draw the comedian kicking Ozymandias' ass. And this was his revenge. He's a lot younger than him at that point. What, 15 years, 20 years younger? He's still in great shape. He was drunk that night. The comedian, I imagine he was. So yeah, whether it was intended or not, that's how I read it. And it just hit me one day. I was like, oh, this fucker he bookends his entire book by that. And he keeps the scumbags alive. He keeps the murderers, the mass murderers alive. Has no problem with them. You never hear him speak of Ozymandias, the mass murderer, in ways that he discusses the comedian or Rorschach. Again, it's not about, with these leftists, it's not about what they do. It's about their ideas. If they agree with their ideas, they can do anything. If they don't agree with their ideas, they're monsters. Now, Rorschach does kill serial rapists. He does kill that other guy with the horrible kidnapping thing. Those are just killings, I'm totally fine with that. I'm not fine with Ozymandias doing what he did at the end at all. I'm not fine with Dr. Manhattan at all. Murdering, cold-blooded. And also, it contradicted the character. Yeah, well, he learned about humanity again on Mars with her. No. There was no reason he should have done that. Even Ozymandias, when Rorschach comes, and says, I'm going to tell the world, he goes, like, who's going to believe him? Right? But he had to go out of his way. Dr. Manhattan, the cold-blooded Dr. Manhattan, right? Doesn't give a shit about life, doesn't care about Earth. He wants to go to a different alternate universe, right? At the end. Doesn't care about the fate of the Earth, right? He has to go out of his way to murder Rorschach before he tells the world. Why? Because, again, it's not that he couldn't resist his own bloodlust. Moore couldn't. Moore's like, I got to get this guy out. I got to take him out. I got to take that whole worldview out. The Ayn Rand worldview, the one that Ditko adopted. I got to get that out. It's totally against my thoughts, and therefore, you got to take him out. It's bad, really bad. Yes, Delaware comic dude. Yeah, I mentioned that. Ditko made that popular, the 9 panel grid. Whether he, innovated it, I don't know, but he made it popular. That's for sure with Spider-Man. It's an interesting. I tried to do that for something, and I couldn't quite get the hang of it in terms of what I was doing. It wasn't enough because I put a lot of panels in my comics. If you read them, I can go from a dozen easily, easily. Um, I pack my stuff, because I'm not concerned with the splashes. I'm not. I'll have close to splashes here and there, the action scenes in particular with Pigman for sure. Aside of that, not really. I tell a pretty dense story, a lot of conversation, a lot of dialogue, and it's fun, very fun. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to show you something here also. Just a quick look. A quick look at something that I've been working on. The latest page. I showed the original art for it on King's the other day, and Ethan was like, "Whoa, that's a big page." I said, "Yeah, it's 18 by 24." That's what I've been working on. The size is really big. And if you guys were there that night, here's the colored version. I just want to show you quick there. I'm very pleased with how it's coming out. Very pleased. And so are those who hired me, so it's all good. I can't wait to at one point have it out there, but I don't know when that will be. It's years in the making, and okay. Let me get this settled here. Get that flap over out. Let me read a few more comments and get back. So again, this is a thorough look through of this, absolutely. A read through, definitely, but also just to keep it alive. I got a number of thoughts about this, and again, guys, I'm going to spoilers galore. Nothing will be held back whenever something comes up. Like, okay, this, okay, that's Ozymandias, beating up the comedian right there, and so on. This again, it's a 40-year-old book. If you haven't read it by now, I'm not sure if you're interested. But still, I do recommend you reading it and not experiencing it this way, reading it through your own mind. Roxy and Chica, hey, Alan Moore is no different than any other typical sadistic commie. These types aren't even people, in my opinion, they're monsters. Again, the thing that stuck with me about Moore and his inhumanity was in an interview with Gary Groth, another piece of shit leftist, and they got along, great. Of course it did. And Moore decided to share with him, for some reason, I don't know why, he wants to share his inhumanity. I guess he thought it was cool. He fancied himself like Dr. Manhattan, probably, in his own mind. Cold-blooded, looking, contempt for humanity and so on, right? He was talking about 9/11, that his daughter called him or told about 9/11. He goes, interesting. Huh. As in, that's an interesting way to do that. That's what he said the moment he heard about it. Not in reflection, not years later. The moment he heard about it, that's what he decided to tell Gary Groth and readers, that I'm a piece of shit and I don't give a fuck for humanity. But I thought that was interesting. Huh. Interesting way to do it. Piece of shit. Can't stand him. And again, can't stand him, but I love comics, and this is a good comic. This is really well constructed. Good comics. And you could tell he loves comics while he's making this, at least, right? You could tell. But him, and also there's something, they're embarrassed. Like Gibbons was saying, like this, he almost referred to like a disease of love of comics. It's embarrassing. This is what you're known for, guys. This is your life. This is what you dedicated hours and hours and hours and hours of your life over years to try to do the best job you can. I remember reading comics in front of people and, buses and this and that when I was a kid. I didn't care. I didn't try to hide it. There was something, I love comics. I'm not embarrassed by it. There was something implied that they were like embarrassed at the idea. And they like cleanse themselves by doing this comic finally. It's like, I think Moore also had the fanciful idea that he was finally putting the autopsy on comics. Before comics were even dead. Like, I'm going to dissect it like a living, breathing medium. Very presumptuous, very arrogant, but good writer. I wish Ditko had his writing skills to bring to question, especially to Mr. A, because those are unreadable. And again, I'm a Ditko fan. I love Ditko. I love the Spider-Man comics, but and I love the idea of Mr. A in the question, but the execution is terrible. And a friend of mine who loved him as well was like trying to criticize me for criticizing. I said, no, no, no. I said, you don't understand. I said, I love comics. It's not that the overall how to make comics, how to tell a story, right? And if you don't do it well, I'm going to criticize you. I don't give a shit who you are. You one of my heroes? Hey, man, that sucked. You could have told that a lot better. So I'm not. I don't bite my tongue when it comes to that. I don't have this. I don't put these guys on my pedestals. When Frank Miller fucks up, I'm going to say so. I think at his best, he's the best writer comics ever had. But when he fucks up, I hope Push the Wall is good. Coming up, next week in 4 days, I think it comes out. His semi biography, tell all, how to book about comics, I think. If it sucks, I'm going to say so. If it's great, I'm going to say so. So, yeah. Interesting. Marcus writes, these two Watchmen pages are colored like an old Ditko Marvel or Atlas comic. Is that right? With like the non-primary colors, like the greens and purples and so on. They wanted a different look, clearly. There's a lot of purple here, not on this page per se, but later on you get to see more and more, especially around Ozymandias and the alien and so on, the fake alien. Hill, Alistair. Yes, right. Which is why I think they recolored they recolored this also though, guys. If you remember, they had two different versions of this one as well. And Alistair writes that John Higgins was good for watching, but not for the Killing Joke. Well, yeah, Roxy Chico, he's a good writer. If he just had his shit ideas, no one would give a shit about Ralmore. But he is a good writer. Objectively, he's a good writer. I can did disagree with him again, ideologically, politically, and philosophically, but he's a good writer. He can get his story told well, and there are elements here where he has to step up, and he makes Rorschach the most witty and clever also. The way he roasts the bad guys. While Ozymandias might be quote unquote the smartest man in the world, doesn't really express it, doesn't really show it. It's a retarded thing that he does. At the end, it's like, that's your plan? What? What? No. You're evil and stupid. Huh. That's right. Marcus writes, Mystery is tough to read, or he's tough because it's definitely tough to read. I After I read The Watchmen again, I just wanted to remind myself, what was it from Mr. A and the question that Moore really found appealing, and I got to credit Moore for making Rorschach more compelling than those characters. He just is. I mean, it's like those aren't stories; they're tracts. They're philosophy tracts. Um, he opens up with like, there was no black, there was no white, there was no gray, there's only black and white. It's like, okay, but show us within the story. You need to show us within a story. You can't be open the story with you discussing philosophy right out of the gate. Not good. Not good. Headless Bourgeoisie, the Killjoy is my favorite Ditko character. Was that the one with all the lines work on him, like the squiggly lines? Or something else? Well, that's the thing, Roxy and Chica, about more. Yeah, if his fucked up political opinions are always going to get in the way of his writing skills, then what's the point? Well, the point is that most of the editorial agreed with him at DC. They couldn't get enough of it. You mean they could like, oh, this guy's coming from the left, clearly. We're loving it. And readers, I don't think they were philosophically formed yet. A lot of them, the younger readers at least, and they just took it in stride. Like, okay, this is a interesting way of telling the comic book. And there's only one real superhero here, even though I think the comedian is described as some kind of extra human, maybe some steroids, maybe something. He's still pretty jacked for his age. He's in his 50s, I think, at this point. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. But let's go. So again, there's good dialogue here. Yeah, poor guy. I always wondered, do you think you black out before you hit the sidewalk or what? He goes, frankly, I don't need to know that bad. It's funny. What do you think happened here? Well, looks like someone broke in by busting this door down. That would take either two guys or one guy on serious drugs because the door had a chain fastened on the inside, which means that the occupant was home when it happened. So there he is drinking with some kind of nudie magazine, right? After he discovered Ozymandias' plot to kill millions. He hasn't gone to tell people, to warn people, to the government, his friends in the Watchmen and so on, his old allies. He hasn't told anyone. Didn't care. What a stupid thing. Flat out, it's just dumb. And of course, he could have averted it. At least if he alerted people, he could have averted it. Instead, he just goes there and it's terrible what's happening. And he's gonna go cry to Moloch. It's like, and again, more things are being interesting about that, but it's just stupid. It's a dumb move for a crime fighter, a guy who liked bringing down communist dictatorships. He liked it, which means that the occupant was home when it happened. I saw the body, and he looked beefy enough to protect himself. For a guy his age, he was in terrific shape. What, you mean apart from being dead? Yeah, that's not as a clever line. It's corny, actually. No, I mean, this guy, this Blake guy, the occupant, he had muscles like a weightlifter. He would have put up some kind of fight, I'm certain. Yeah, well, looks like he lost. Maybe it was a couple of guys, and they just overpowered him. Maybe. The data we have suggests he's been doing some sort of overseas diplomatic work for years. A lot of classy expense account living. Maybe he just got soft. He don't look too soft in this photograph. Wonder how he got that scar. It looks, hey, the guy he's shaking hands with in the picture, it's Vice President Ford. Hey, so it is. Well, listen, between you and me, I think we can rule him out as a suspect. A job like this just isn't his style. That'd be real funny if we had any better leads to go on. I mean, what is this? A little money got stolen, but no way is a straight burglary. Somebody really had it in for this guy. Yeah, it was the leftist Ozymandias who couldn't stand this right winger who kicked his ass at one point. I mean, how did he go out of the window? Maybe he tripped against it. Forget it. That's strong glass, man. You trip against it, even a big guy like that, it don't break. Now, in the animated version, he threw him against glass like 3 or 4 times. So he loosened it up, made it weaker, and until he finally smashed him. But also, he has some kind of skills that are more than human, Ozymandias, as you'll see at the end with that bullet, I think you'd have to be thrown. Well, if this Edward Blake was as big as you say he was, then one guy would never lift him. So we're talking 2 assailants here. Which floor you want? Oh, ground floor, please. And then you got this strange thing that I guess they introduce here, which is like a cigarette with a ball at the end. And here you got a smiley face. It's like a cigarette type thing with a ball. I don't know what it is, but it's supposed to be like, I guess, a cigarette type thing. Ground floor coming up, Ground floor indeed, right? So look, you haven't answered my question. Is it a burglary or do we look for some other motive? Or would you look for some other motive? I want to make sure you guys can see the pages as they're supposed to be here without any, okay. Uh, Listen, it could just have been a burglary, maybe a bunch of knot tops. I think knot tops are the gangs in town. The punks out you used to walk around and look weird, almost like the mutant gang in Dark Knight. Maybe a bunch of knot tops on KT-28S or KT-28s or lewds. You know how it is. A lot of crazy things happen in a city this size. They don't all need motives. Well, yeah, to murder a man, there has to be some kind of motive. It's not just happenstance. So what you're saying is, I'm saying let's not raise too much dust over this one. We don't need any masked Avengers getting interested in cutting in. Followed up discreetly, sure, but in public. Well, let's say we let this one drop out of sight. Drop out of sight. He's dropping. I guess he thought he was being clever there, right? I don't know. I think you take this vigilante stuff too seriously. Since the Keene Act was passed in '77, only the government-sponsored weirdos are active. Yeah, superheroes were outlawed 8 years before this, and the one who refused to retire was Rorschach. He's still out there. They don't interfere. Screw them. What about Rorschach? Rorschach never retired. Even after him and his buddies fell out of grace, Rorschach's still out there somewhere. And if you read it, you know that this is Rorschach. And again, these little type things here, right? Look at this panel and look at the next panel. It's just a higher image of the one that we just saw. In the annotated version, they brought us up. That's Rorschach, and then you got the next panel is the same exact spot, just a higher angle, and that's Rorschach there, where he was earlier. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And here they're describing Rorschach. Again, Moore devotes a lot of time to Rorschach. He sure as hell does. He's fascinated by him clearly, right? Clearly. A part of him understands he's the most compelling character and the best character and the most moral character, the most honest one, right? The meanest one too. I mean, in terms of his lust for justice. I mean, he wants to get the bad guys. Wants them to pay a price for their evil. The old guys, not so much. It comes or goes. So they're describing him a little here. He's crazier than a snake's armpit and wanted on 2 counts of murder one. 2 counts of murder one. We got a cozy little homicide here. If he gets involved, we'll be up to our butts in corpses. What's the matter? Nothing, just a shiver. Must be getting cold. He has a shiver because Rorschach just walked by him. And again, you got the time here. Let's see what time it is there. Okay, it's a little after midnight there. Okay. I think more, he literally said that every time you see a clock, it's right a little before midnight. So he goes there, picks up that pin, looks at it, gets his grappling gun, which I gather was created by Dan Dryberg, Night Owl. They were partners once. He sees Dryberg as soft now, also as a sellout, because he abided by the Keene Act. And here he is climbing that building, getting up to that area, and then you see, again, a big nudie picture there that I guess the comedian has. This is how Moore sees it. An older guy, he still have nudie pictures, like, because yeah, of course that right-wing guy would have that. At midnight, all the agents. So he goes, looks around, he sees something here. He finds it a little strange, the size of this closet. He goes, I think there's something behind there. And he's looking. Boom, he finds a button, presses it, and he finds the comedian's outfit and weapons. He's like, and I I love the mask. It's more effective than just the question's mask. The question's mask just covers his face, right? This is black and white, which is the morality of the question of Mr. A. Pure black and white, and it moves constantly. It's always moving. And here it looks like a little shocked look, which is very, very cool. Um, so he's like, this guy was the comedian. And then people, critics, they said, well, he should have known he was a comedian because Blake was more or less outed at a certain point. People knew that. Maybe. If that is the case, then it's just sloppy work on Moore's part. But again, this is just good comics. This is good writing. And the fact is, he could not resist having Rorschach live up to what he was hating, to Ayn Rand's ideals, and therefore Ditko's. Ditko adopted Ayn Rand's philosophy, as have I, but he couldn't tell it in a compelling way, whereas Moore can in this story. It's not exactly the question or mystery, of course not objectivism, but it's along those lines. This is the parts that he finds, and again, he's trying to undermine it at every point, make him ugly, make him short. He wears lifts, make him with a terrible origin here and there, but it's effective nonetheless because despite all that, the guy maintains his mission of making crime pay. I mean, so here we go in Hollis Mason. He's the original Night Owl who every week I think meets up with Dan Dryberg, the current outfall. Well, not the current one. They're both retired. The one who idolized him and asked him if he can become, I guess, a Silver Age version of the Golden Age and Night Owl. So there I was in the supermarket buying dog food for old Phantom here. I turned the corner of the aisle and wham! I bumped into the Screaming Skull. You remember him? I think I heard you mention him. Oh, I put him away a dozen times in the 40s, but he reformed and turned to Jesus since then. Married, got 2 kids. We traded addresses. Nice guy. Hollis, it's almost midnight. I ought to go. Oh, sure. Lost track of the time there. I'm talking about all that old stuff. Must have been bored as hell. You know better than that. These Saturday night beer sessions are what's keeping me going. Yeah, well, us old retired guys got to stick together. Let me put this out, and I'll be right with you. It was a crying shame. Now he has an old school cigarette here, Hollis Mason. Oops. He has an old school one. Unlike the weird ones that we're seeing. That means something, clearly he wants to hold on to the classic stuff as far as he's concerned. It was a crying shame they put you youngsters out to grass in 77. You were a better night owl than I ever was. He goes, Hollis, we both know that's bullshit, but thanks anyway. And again, this also tells you this is for a more mature audience with a profanity like that. This wasn't happening in regular DC or Marvel comics. Hey, watch with the language. This is the left hook that floored Captain Axis, remember? How could I forget? Thanks for another great night, Hollis. Take care of yourself. You too, Danny. God bless. He's also a mechanic. Look down your back stairs, buddy. Somebody's living there and they don't really feel the weather. Russia protest U.S. advance of Afghanistan. You got these news stories, and then you see Dryberg. He's like, my door's broken. And then he sees Rorschach sitting in his kitchen, eating a cold can of beans, room temperature. Slop, flop. Look at his sounds. Again, it's more trying to diminish, I think, the dignity of Mr. A, the question, Ayn Rand characters. He looks ugly, unshaven. He smells. Chlop, flop, slorp, lep. Hello, Daniel. Got hungry waiting. Helped myself to some beans. Hope you don't mind. Rorschach? I guess you haven't seen each other for years, if I'm not mistaken, at this point. Uh, that is no, of course I don't mind. You want me to heat those up for you or anything? No need, fine like this. So, long time no see. How have you been keeping? Out of prison so far. Take a look at this. Uh, what is it? This little stain, is that bean juice or? That's right, human bean. Human bean juice. Haha. Badge belonged to the comedian. Blood too. He's dead. Dead? What? What? You're talking about the comedian? Investigated a routine homicide victim named Edward Blake. Found the costume in Blake's wardrobe. Seems he was a comedian. Somebody, listen, maybe we could talk about this down in my workshop. I feel kind of exposed up here. Also, that way you can use the hidden rear exit when you leave, that is. Right down this way. He's very timid, Dryberg. You haven't been down here for a while. Neither have you. A lot of dust. Let me read from my comments here. I get back. Happy's Funhouse writes, I've always loved the way this comic was colored. I started off my comic journey reading modern stuff, so these colors really jumped off the page at me. I love the way the old stuff is colored. Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting choice. I don't personally like it in terms of the color scheme, but it worked. I mean, from the initial yellow and black, boom, right, hitting you like, whoa. And then very few primary colors on the characters and everything, more or less, a lot of secondary colors. The best thing about it is that it's unique. It's clearly Watchmen colors. You want that. These guys did a lot of thought. I mean, they both of them, and more, admitted that Gibbons' art influenced his writing and so on. It just did. You work with a good artist. I mean, he's a good, competent artist, and at times really good. The style per se, um, I don't know, but he's a very good storyteller, very conscientious, and consistent. Very consistent. Dryberg looks the same at every angle. Every character does. I respect that. I like that. I like that kind of consistency in artists. He's very conscious of what he's doing. Okay, Headless Bourgeoisie. Kilroy had a red costume with a smiling black mask. Ran as a backup feature in Joe Staten's E-Man comics. I must have missed that one. I clearly have come across them. I got Ditko books, I got a number of them, but I don't remember that exactly. Roxy and Chica writes, unfortunately, you're spot on correct with Marvel DC. Both those companies are now brewing grounds for commie insanity, which is why I quit reading anything from them years ago. Yeah, they fucked up. They didn't allow for non-commies to flourish in these industries, in these companies. They just didn't. They saw them as threats and enemies to because again, their ideas are indefensible. They know that. So they cannot have anyone challenge them because they crumble. Any kind of scrutiny, they crumble. Muslims the same way. Their ideas are shit. That's why they resort to violence at the drop of a Muhammad cartoon, right? Scrutiny to them is death because they know, again, if you take their ideas seriously, if you explain it to them seriously, they know they're full of shit. So that's why they don't want anyone around like that. They're a danger to them. Any kind of rational give and take. Howdy, Hamilton. How's it going? Delaware comic dude writes, love the way Watchmen looks like a mix of Golden Age and Silver Age comic. Yeah. Again, this is just good comics. I can judge it in many ways, right? But I'll never deny the fact that it's good comics, regardless of his intent, regardless of a lot of stuff. And again, he had the integrity to not undermine Rorschach as much as he could have if he was a lesser writer and if he had a little less integrity, because he's like, okay, this is the character. I'm going to try to undermine him in certain ways, but he's still the most compelling guy here, hands down. I think he knew that. I think he knew that. He also knew that he's got to have him in there. You know, he dominates the opening, the middle, and the end. I mean, in a lot of ways. And he's the only one telling the truth. All those guys are more or less liars. They lie to themselves. They lie to the world. They're quick to get behind Ozymandias's horror. Quick. And he's like, you're joking. So this is good stuff here. These are former partners. Rorschach and Night Owl, they were partners, the closest, I think, of the Watchmen. Neither of you, a lot of dust. Yeah, well, sometimes I come and sit down here for a while, but it doesn't seem much point since I retired. Listen, about the comedian, might it just have been an ordinary burglary or something? Maybe the killer didn't know who Blake was. An ordinary burglar? He says, kill the comedian? Ridiculous. See, that's just logic right there. Simple logic. He's like, you're talking about the comedian, right? He's been fighting crime for 30 to 40 years by this point. He was a teenager. I think he was maybe 15 or 16. I guess it doesn't seem very likely. Again, he doesn't want to go near the truth. It's obvious to Rorschach because Rorschach, the truth is always hovering around him. It's always there. He's always seeking it. Dryberg isn't. Dryberg is long retired now. He's got fat and happy, right? And he's like a poor man's. Well, he's not poor actually. He's wealthy, but he's like a poor man's in the figurative sense. Bruce Wayne, right? He's not heroic. He's soft. He's hesitant. He's nerdy, but he has this past where he was a crime fighter. Clearly longs for it without even acknowledging it. And here's a guy just reminding him of every little thing here. Yeah, I've been here for a while. It's dusty as hell. The comedian taken out by a burglar? Ridiculous. He's mocking him in his own way, roasting him, really. He tells all these guys the truth. They don't want to hear it. I guess it doesn't seem very likely. I heard he'd been working for the government since '77, knocking over Marxist Republicans in South America. Maybe this was a political killing? Maybe. Or maybe someone's picking off costumed heroes. He's leaving anything open here. And again, I love the fact that you can tell here that the mask is changing moment to moment, whether it depends on temperature or his breathing through the mask and so on. It's like it's kind of material. And the original version, as I mentioned earlier, was a full bodysuit, and in the earlier version, he was walking around like that without even the trench coat or the hat. It was just him with that full bodysuit. It looked weird. Let me show you quick. That wouldn't have worked. This works because it really, it's more or less the question with a different mask, as a quick look. So let me show you that early. Okay. Look at him. It's a little unclear on my end. I hope you guys can see it. The full body mask, right? Well, the mask that covers the entire body, that is, a full body suit of that material. Interesting. And then this one where he looks like let me show you, like a streaker, a flasher. Look at that. Funny. They have like an artist edition. I'm not sure if it's worth getting, but I don't think it's the entire book from what I gather either. It's only bits and pieces of it. It's like, Um, yeah, it's true. Roxy and Chica. It does look a little ridiculous, and I'm glad they did this because again, it brings it home that he is a version of the Question. He is. That was Ditko's idea, make him with a trench coat, a fedora, and a mask that hides his face. But again, I didn't mean to even bring down the Question's mask. I think it's cool as hell to have no face. It's cool, but this one visualizes the black and white idea even more so. His black and white morality is literally on his face. There's no gray. It's pure black and white, just blending over and over, never, touching, as he says at one point. It's being separated like oil and water. Okay, so maybe someone's picking off costumed heroes. He goes, don't you think that's maybe a little paranoid? That's what they're saying about me now? That I'm paranoid? Now keep in mind, he has not been with teammates for years now. He's not had any real companions. The only companions he has, the only people he really, is the criminal element. And in the daytime, he's going back and down the streets with the end is nigh. So he doesn't have friends. He's been disconnected from those who he considered friends. So he's a little defensive here. He goes, "That's what they're saying about me now. That I'm paranoid." The comedian was active for 40 years. Men make a lot of enemies in that time. How's your friend Hollis Mason these days? Interesting question, right? Because Hollis, what does he? They were both Minutemen. When Blake was 16 and Mason was the first night owl. That book Mason wrote, he said some bad things about the comedian in it. Rorschach, I don't like what you're implying here. Hollis is an old man. If you're thinking about going over there and scaring him, implying nothing, just an observation. Anyway, I thought I'd let you know in case somebody is gunning for masks. Better go now, things to do. Yeah, well, the tunnel brings you out in a warehouse 2 blocks north. Yes, I remember. You used to come here often, back when we were partners. Oh, yeah. Yeah, those were great times, Rorschach. Great times. Whatever happened to them? You quit. It hits him. It definitely hits him. Rorschach's journal, October 13th, 1985. Slept all day. Awoken at 4:37. Landlady complaining. I think Moore mentioned one thing that he sleeps about 4 hours a night, tops, which I could relate to. I remember, I'll tell you, I think it's funny. One of my Muslim cousins, 2010 when this came out, or 2009? 2009 maybe, or 2000. I'm not sure. I guess I can find out just quick here because I own the film. 2009. Called me right after. He goes, "That Rorschach character, that's you. That's you." He was laughing. I didn't take it as an insult either. I think he meant it as one, but I didn't take it as one because I know what he was getting at. He had the idea, like, okay, this guy is along those lines. He sticks to his guns, and he has very strong opinions, and hates evil and so on. Anyway, slept all day, woken at 4:37. Landlady complaining about smell. She has 5 children by 5 different fathers. I am sure she cheats on welfare. Soon it will be dark. Beneath me, this awful city, it screams like an abattoir full of retarded children. New York. On Friday night, a comedian died in New York. Somebody knows why. Down there, somebody knows. The dusk reeks of fornication and bad consciences. I believe I shall take my exercise. Very proper English there. Sounds like a Brit. I imagine why. So, Rorschach, how are you doing, fella? I'm fine, Happy Harry. Yourself? fine. I'm fi- I'm fine, and I'm glad. I'm glad you're fine too. And oh God, please don't kill anybody. Sweating and crying. Guy went sidewalk diving Friday night. I don't think he was alone when it happened. Name was Edward Blake, friend of mine. Huh. Hey, you hear that? He's got friends. Must have changed his deodorant. Steve, for God's sake, man, shut up. I, I gotta take a leak. The guy's like, ah, fuck. Hey, I mean, I didn't mean anything. I haven't been in the Apple too long, and hey, what? Crack. Breaks his pinky. Screams out, I've just broken this gentleman's little finger. Who killed Edward Blake? Oh, yeah. And his index finger. Who killed Edward Blake? See, this is not, I think this is Moore's way of trying to show that he's a psychopath in his mind. Because this is futile. I mean, you can't just walk in a bar and just do that and get the answer like that. But I guess he wants us to scare the shit out of this criminal element. He knows that they all come here. Please, we don't know. Oh, man. God, man, leave him alone. First visit of every evening, fruitless. Nobody knew anything. Feel slightly depressed. The city is dying of rabies. Is the best I can do to wipe random flecks off foam from its lips? Never despair. Never surrender. I leave the human cockroaches to discuss their heroin and child pornography. I have business elsewhere with a better class of person. Yeah, we'll see about that. So here he is in his tower. Vite. I think I was saying Vite recently, but I think it's Vite. I rewatched the movie. I think they, even though some people said Vate also, I think Vite works. And I implied or said that he was a foreigner. I think his parents were foreigner, but he was born here, and then went across the world here and came back, similar to Batman, Bruce Wayne. If I'm not mistaken, I think that is the case. So he's American, but he's always like he has an accent. I think in the movie, in the cartoon, if I'm not forgetting, the comedian is dead. But why? You were always supposed to be the world's smartest man, Vite. You tell me. I never claimed to be anybody special, Rorschach. I just have some over enthusiastic PR men. Listen, could it have been a political killing? Maybe the Soviets? Dryberg said the same thing. Don't believe it. America has Dr. Manhattan. Reds have been running scared since 65. They'd never dare antagonize us. I think we've got a mass killer. Not necessarily. The community had plenty of other political enemies to choose from. Even discounting the Russians, the man was practically a Nazi. He stood up for his country, Veit. He never let anybody retire him. Never cashed in on his reputation. Never set up a company selling posters and diet books and toy soldiers based on himself. Never became a prostitute. If that makes him a Nazi, you might as well call me a Nazi too. Again, this is the typical leftist writer character throwing that word around when, I'll say it again and again. Graham Plattner, guys, that guy with the Nazi tattoo calls himself a communist. He's a commie Nazi. That's what he is. That's what left is. Left has been trying to throw like a hot potato Hitler onto the right for 70 years. It's always their way to deflect from the fact that Hitler was a National Socialist who wanted to, as he put it, he wanted to go further than the communists. Because again, the guy who founded fascism was a socialist who said that fascism is a form of socialism. You listen to these guys, they are what they are. Hitler said, we want to go further than just nationalize or just socializing companies and banks. We want to socialize human beings. We want to socialize human beings. So they want to go further, meaning, again, I call them commie Nazis because it's like the Shiite and Sunni Muslims. Same shit, right? But they kill each other. But when people tell me, the Nazis and communists hate each other, yeah, like the Sunnis and Shiites. They're both the same shit, but they want their version of their same shit to be the dominant one. That's it. My version is better than yours. Same shit. Fascism, communism, socialism, National Socialism, you know, all the same shit. Collectivist, anti-capitalist, anti-freedom, anti-individualism, pro-government in the worst way, pro-control, no free speech. All of them were enemies of free speech. Every single last one of them. Repairman Jack, how's it going, man? Warzord, how's it going? That's right. It sure does. This is tired old shit. And again, the younger people out there also, this is going on for decades and decades and decades. The same shit here that he pulls. Again, this is more throwing his shit, deflecting, really. Because this guy is a mass murderer, like Hitler. He's pretending that he's an innocent here, that he's just a good guy, right? Smartest guy in the world. Pigeon of Judgment. Hail. Hail, Pigman. Roxy and Chica writes, of course, evil always inverts. The left knows you're Nazis by definition. This is why they try so hard to brainwash everyone into believing the people they hate are the Nazis. 100%. They are stuck with Hitler. That's their guy. And you got to remind them over and over. Again, guys, when I draw my Muhammad cartoons, Muslims want to kill me, right? The closest I get from an extreme reaction to cartoons of mine are when I have put my Kami-Nazi cartoon with a half Stalin, half Hitler. They lose their shit. Why? Because it's true. If it was a lie, if it was bullshit, they would laugh it off. They get incensed because it's true. One second. Someone wrote something and I never got it until now. Okay. Guys, also just let you know, those who might be interested in a one-of-a-kind book. Again, guys, I'm going all over the place here, but that's just the way I do all my reviews anyway. I'm not locked into every little moment. I have one left of my Mama Cartoons, Volume 1. Last one, guys. It's 120 Mama Cartoons in here. Essays as well. I got one left, and it'll go out of print. So you can go to boschwalson.com, order from there. And then I have, on there as well, I have, I think, 9 copies of Volume 2. And when that goes out, that goes out. So I do recommend getting it. It's one of a kind. That's my Woody Muhammad cartoon that I won in 2015 against 350 different entries across the world. Won $12,500 for this. And the 2 jihadists who came to kill us got their heads blown off. I mean, what a fucking day. What a day. Incredible. So yeah, guys, if you want the last one, you guys can get it at my store, boschwalson.com. Check it out. There's also more stuff in there as well. Repairman Jack, I liked Watchmen when it came out. Bought every issue. Same here, man. Same here. Blown away, really. We had Dark Knight, Watchmen that same year. Incredible. And a lot of them, retired heroes coming out of retirement. The world going to hell in a lot of ways. Nuclear dangers, right? Similar themes, but very differently told, Very differently told. Aditya, young guy here who only read Watchmen last year. What are you guys talking about? Her? I don't know what you're talking about. You gotta be clear. Talking about here? Well, we're talking about the Watchmen. This is part 1 of my review of the Watchmen. Roxy and Chica, precisely, it's fucking pathetic. Their entire lives consist of denial of what they are. This is absolutely true because, again, if they were to be conscious of who they are, they wouldn't be who they are. They would have to shake it off, leave. That's why the best Muslims are ex-Muslims. The best commies are ex-commies. They wouldn't be able to And the world doesn't tell them enough. Hitler is a scumbag, yes, a mass murderer, evil, piece of shit, yes. So was Stalin. Well, what's the difference? Fundamentally, nothing. Fundamentally, no. Stalin hated Jews also, as did Marx. Marx was a Jew. Marx was raised Catholic. I mean, he was, and he was an atheist. He hated Jews. It comes from him that Jew hatred that all leftists have. That's why they get along so well with Muslims for the time being. Um, the Tony Figueroa, hey, how's it going? I'm glad to know you're out here fighting the good fight. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it, man. Thank you. I used to just get embarrassed by stuff like that, but I'm like, all right, thanks, man. I don't want to insult you guys. I get these extravagant comments sometimes, and what do I do? And I'm not gonna completely go on board. Yeah, rah off myself, but I do appreciate it. I know you guys intend it well. So yeah, boxfalls.com. Check it out. I got one left. The final copy. It'll be out of print at that point, so it'll be good to have. It's something that you'll find nowhere else. I will say that. Pigeon of Judgment writes, what's more incredible is the man who made Dark Knight is now making Odyssey with Troons and Sub-Saharans. Nolan is proof that creative ability is no subject character. I mean, talk about a blunder. And I think it is a blunder more than a devious thing, because this guy is a good filmmaker. He took on things. There were elements in Dark Knight Rises, if you remember, anti-communist elements in there, where the people being ripped out of their homes, it's a bad thing. It's not something to be celebrated. Where Catwoman goes into one of the homes and looks around and says, this was someone's home. And her partner says, now it's everyone's home. And she winces, Catwoman. That's good stuff. I like that. It's very subtle, but it's very telling also. It's anti-totalitarian, anti-communist, anti-Nazi, And here he is, the dummy. Absolute idiot. I mean, talk about the biggest blunder of his entire career. And I like the actress who plays Helen before. I don't like her now. I think she's a bitch. I think she's a real full of herself now, talking massive shit. You got the other guy, John Leguizamo, the communist, talking about how Latins were so terrorized, and they still are. It's like, bitch, you're a multimillionaire, famous. You're lucky to be in a movie by Christopher Nolan. Lucky. A lot of stupid shit's being told. Again, I'm out. I'm not gonna go watch that shit. I'm not. He fucked up. Kept giving me more and more reasons not to go. At first, I was like, okay, cool. The Odyssey, Nolan, I'm there. Now I'm not there. Also, the language. Daddy, my daddy. Lupita Nyong'o, right? Hamilton. She turned down The Woman King because she said it was not true. They didn't lied. They were slavers, blacks owning black slaves and selling black slaves, and they took that part out. She didn't like that. Good for her. I respected her for that. And then here she is talking mad shit about Homer. Hey, where are the women? Where's the screen time for women? Bitch, you're in there. 5 of the women are in there. You know they're going to get a lot more time than they would have ever had. You should be happy. Again, they're rich, they're famous, and they're miserable fucks because they're communists. And I guess Nolan is out now because the adaptation is from some feminist bitch, a communist, who has a mean streak in there. Talks about misogyny, as if that's the only thing she got from the Odyssey. Sick. That's who he chooses to adapt it from. He fucked himself. He may not be able to survive career-wise because of this. This is over 20 years into his career, and he's pulling this fast shit. It's like, dummy, you already have an Oscar. You don't have to pander to them. I want another one. It's like, okay, then. Stupid. Hamilton Berger writes, Nolan could have found small roles for Ellen Page and Nyong'o if he wanted them in, but he decided to update the Odyssey for modern audiences by removing its soul. Yeah, Terrible. It's going to be, and again, you will not be able to watch it without being knocked out. I think Anthony Cumia mentioned that recently, and he's absolutely right. It's like, oh yeah, oh okay, oh yeah, yeah, this, okay. It's over at that point. It's over. You want to be immersed in a movie. You want to be engaged. You want to be completely, you want full immersion. And the dummy undercut that. Stupid. Idiot. And also, no orchestra because they didn't have orchestras back then. Dummy, they didn't have IMAX cameras. They didn't have that technology. They didn't have, you know, the ability to fly to certain areas to film this movie. It's so stupid. And they sure as hell didn't have, Black Helen Troy in that book. So stupid. Yeah, it's ridiculous, you know. It really is. I mean, you got the most multicultural Greeks of all time in this movie. I don't remember seeing, you know, movies about African nations, or Wakanda, white guys, white natives in there. And yeah, I heard Armand Santi played Odysseus. I believe he played Odysseus as well. Anyway, sorry guys. Let's go. Let's get cracking here. So Rorschach is calling him out. The way he called out Dryberg, the way he calls out everyone, and the way he calls out, you'll see right after. Never became a prostitute. He's calling him a prostitute. Call him a whore. If that makes him a Nazi, you might as well call me a Nazi too. He goes, Rorschach, I know we were never friends, but even so, you're being unfair. What a fruit. Nobody retired me. I said nobody entered me, as in he actually does imply that he's gay. Rorschach. It's pretty funny. Nobody retired me. I chose to quit adventuring and go public 2 years before the police strike made the kidnapping necessary. He goes, yes, good timing. I came here to warn you about the mass killer, so you didn't end up smartest man in the morgue. But I guess his worst things end up as in like you, be seeing you. That's number six's parting in The Prisoner. Patrick McGowan. Be seeing you. Be seeing you. Hilarious. Very funny. Sure. Have a nice day. He's like, okay, doesn't suspect me. Good. Here he is with his figures of himself on his desk. I guess you'd call it narcissist, right? Rorschach's Journal, October 13th, 1985, 8:30 p.m. Rockefeller Military Research Center. I think I try to imply here that it was like a Superman chest shield. A little allusion to that. A little, I guess, nod to it. Um, Meeting with Veidt left bad taste in mouth. He is pampered and decadent, betraying even his own shallow liberal affectations. Possibly homosexual? Must remember to investigate further. Dryberg is bad, a flabby failure who sits whimpering in his basement. Why are so few of us left active, healthy, and without personality disorders? The first night owl runs an auto repair shop. The first silk specter is a bloated, aging whore dying in a Californian rest resort. Captain Metropolis was decapitated in a car crash back in '74. Mothman's in an asylum up in Maine. The silhouette retired in disgrace, murdered 6 weeks later by a minor adversary seeking revenge. Dollar Bill got shot. Hooded Justice went missing in '55. The comedian is dead. Only 2 names remaining on my list. Both share private quarters at Rockefeller Military Research Center. I shall go to them. I shall go and tell the indestructible man that someone plans to murder him. Good evening, Rorschach. Very effective here. Very effective by Gibbons. Probably dictated to him by Moore, but it's the introduction of Dr. Manhattan in a semi-tiny, cliffhanger, which I always love. And it's way high where he has to look up at him. So you realize, okay, is he hovering or something? Well, he's in giant mode right now. Good evening, Dr. Manhattan. And again, just rock solid art here by Dave Gibbons. The musculature, the anatomy, the consistency, panel to panel. They all look the same from every single angle. A lot of artists don't do that, so that's a real, you know, tip of the hat to him, for that. What are you doing here, Rorschach? This is 1 second. How do you pronounce it? 1 second. Just Petchik, I think. Uspechik? I think Uspechik, they said, right? 1 second. Uspechik, I think. Uspechik. Like Bill Sienkiewicz, I think Sienkiewicz instead of Sienkiewicz. I guess Polish names, right? Okay. Let's see. Okay. What are you doing here, Rorschach? This is government base. The government base. I hear you're wanted by the police. He's like, good evening, Miss Jupiter. That's Uspechik. Jupiter was just a name my mother assumed because she didn't want anyone to know she was Polish. You haven't answered my question. Apologies. Came to warn you both and bring bad news. The comedian is dead. I like it. Manhattan's coming down in size there. Yes, since he and I are the only two extra normal operatives currently employed by the government, I was informed on Saturday morning. I understand the CIA suspects that the Libyans were responsible. The Libyans meaning the jihadists, meaning Muslims. Have my own theories on that. Take it you're not too concerned about Blake's death. He sees no expression. A live body and a dead body contain the same number of particles. Structurally, there is no discernible difference. Right? Keep that in mind at the end when it comes to him and Rorschach. The contradictions are annoying. Life and death are unquantifiable abstracts. Why should I be concerned? He's like, we're doing the fucking inhuman powerhouse here. She's like, anyway, even she's bothered. You see her? I like it because she knows he's more disconnected from his humanity than ever before. She's bothered by it. So it's like she's almost crying about it because she knows that it has affected their relationship as well. Again, a live body and a dead body contain the same number of particles. Structurally, there is no discernible difference. Life and death are unquantifiable abstracts. Why should I be concerned? But again, Moore had to turn this cold-blooded piece of crap into a bloody murderer at the end because Moore had to take out Rorschach. He had to see him gone. And then you show, just in the background, just to show how powerful he is, he's lifting this incredibly huge structure behind him with nothing, just like with complete ease. So anyway, Jupiter's like, or Uspechik, whatever. Anyway, it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. Listen to this. This is her response to, and again, if you know the story, you know the situation here of Edward Blake and her mother. I'll go through it. That's fine. If you haven't, we'll just go through it. We'll just, discover it as the story goes on. I'm of two minds about it, but I just don't want to withhold certain thoughts that I have and certain, well, I'll get back to it later. I probably won't. So as I go through this, the full context of the story will be in mind. Blake was a bastard. He was a monster. He tried to rape my mother back when they were both Minutemen. He's like, he eats sugar squares that they took from Dryburgh. I don't know what that does for him. In his mind, it does something, I guess. Gets him hopped up. I don't know. So you support the allegations made in Hollis Mason's book concerning Blake? What Mason said in Under the Hood is what happened. So his mask is off there, and he still sounds with that gravelly voice. Interesting. Shouldn't be the case. Yeah, he's lifting his mask there. So when he lifts his mask, usually his voice is not that gravelly. Maybe that was an error, or they fixed it later. I don't know. What Mason said in Under the Hood is what happened. God knows I'm not my mother's biggest admirer, but some things shouldn't happen to anybody. Why do you think Blake never sued Mason? He's chomping on his sugar square. I'm not sure. I'm not here to speculate on the moral lapses of men who died in the country's service. I came to warn moral lapses? Rape is a moral lapse. Now she says, technically speaking, he tried to rape my mother. I mean, you know, he was stopped, but there's something more than that. Let's just say there was another encounter between her mother and the comedian a number of times, consensual. Let's just say that. So here she is now, taking it from almost being raped to rape is a moral lapse. He broke her ribs. He almost choked her. John, get this creep out of here. I understand her to some extent, but at the same time, technically speaking, it wasn't what it was, and she doesn't know the full story. Her mother is a fucking wacko, but she loved the comedian, from what I gather. And of course, he's unconcerned, but he's like, all right, I'll get this bitch to stop yelling, maybe, and I can do my robot stuff, going into machines and taking them apart. Great use of your time. Where he could be again dismantling Russia's nukes, the Soviets' nukes, right? All our enemies say, yeah, we're going to disarm you. You guys are evil. If you threaten us, I'm going to disarm every last one of you. Instead, he's here being babysat by his girlfriend, who is here because the government thinks, okay, we want to keep this guy from doing too much trouble. Who knows what he'll do? So if he has her with him, he's still maybe connected to humanity to some extent. You seem to be upsetting Lori. I think you ought to go. With respect, Dr. Manhattan, I warned Veit and Dryberg, and I intend to warn you and your lady friend. I believe someone is eliminating masked adventurers, possibly some old foe with a grudge. I said I think you ought to go. Spent a lot of time getting in to see you. Not leaving before I've had my say. He's like, he's gone. Are you still upset? It sounds like he's more upset. Bothered. Annoyed. Yeah, I just don't like Rorschach. He's sick. He's sick inside his mind. I don't like the way he smells or that horrible monotone voice or anything. And the sooner the police put him away, the better. Listen to what his bitch is saying. She don't like the way she says he's sick. She knows he's still out there. He hasn't given up like the others have. Doesn't need the government's consent to commit, you know, violence against these criminals and so on. I don't like the way he smells or that a horrible monotone voice or anything. The sooner the police put him away, the better. What a nasty. Put him away. For what? For fighting crime? John? Yes, Lori? I was just thinking that I must be really edgy to let a maggot like Rorschach get to me like that. I get defensive about this. I gotta say, she's been a real bitch about Rorschach. As soon as he walked in, she was like, oh, God. The hell with you. I was just, also, she got the least amount of, I think, consideration on that list that I showed you with the main characters. I think he didn't care too much about her, and you could tell. More, that is. Um, I just feel cooped up sometimes. I feel cooped up sometimes. Maybe I could use a night out. Rorschach mentioned Dan Dryberg. We haven't seen Dan in years. Maybe I'll call him up, ask him out to dinner. If you don't mind, that is. Now, this is interesting. We haven't seen him for years. Maybe I'll call him up and ask him out to dinner, if you don't mind, that is. As in, I'm going alone with him. No, not with you. I won't invite him here. I want to go out with him. I hope you don't mind. He goes, of course not. I joined you, but I think I'm close to locating a gluino, which would completely validate supersymmetrical theory if we could include it in the bestiary. That's fascinating. I'll call Dan. It's funny. Hello, Dan. Lori Uspechik. I'm fine. How are you? Great. Listen, I just remembered I hadn't seen you in ages and wondered if we could have dinner sometime. Well, how about tonight? Raphael's at 9:30? That's terrific. John? Oh yeah, John's in pretty good shape. See you later, Dan. Bye. And John looks happy here. Now, you could have misinterpreted and say, is he a cuck? Is he super cuck here? Is he like, Dryberg's gonna be with her? I love that. Okay. That's your girl. It's supposed to be at least. Okay. Let me check a few comments. And this is the last few pages here, so let me check the last few comments here. Sinkevich. Okay. Not even Stien. Sinkevich. Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, that's for sure, Roxy and Chica. This is the case for the majority of studios led by communists. People don't seem to understand that the movie industry is no longer meant for entertainment. Its purpose is to indoctrinate. That's for sure. And guys, I mean, in the um, un-American activities, right, where people were outing communists in society, in government, in industries, Hollywood, right? They were seen as evil. Yeah, by communists. They were seen. Ilya Kazan, the great filmmaker, right, was involved with communists when he was young, and he named names, and he's forever condemned. Ayn Rand went there and told him they're not going to be obvious about it. They're not going to say communism. They're going to get these elements of collectivism into films. Slowly but surely, get people acclimated to this idea that individualism doesn't mean that much anymore. Collective effort, people, government, helping. It's all bullshit. But that's the idea, to pervert the country through its entertainment. That's exactly what we know what's happening. It's not overstated. It's not stated enough, actually. That is what's happening, and that's what things like this also. Like, he couldn't wait to make an America that's worse than it was even at this point. Make it even darker and more cynical, right? Even though they're superheroes and there's a superhero in here, it doesn't change anything, really. It's like, why not? Because he's like, he would be inhuman like me. That's a more probably thought. Again, I think he relates most to the villains in here. Ozymandias, Dr. Manhattan. Definitely not to Rorschach. He was observing Rorschach from a far distance. Unlike, Manhattan, where he's wrapped in the skin of Manhattan, as far as he's concerned. Um, um, I think there might be an idiot here. I don't know, but it probably is. Grover's Paradise is true. The film Obsession indoctrinates people into hating sex abusers. That's a really stupid comment there. The idiot also said, Amadeus indoctrinated me into loving beautiful music. Hello, Jurassic. Yeah, you're out, Grover. Again, you get one shot. If you're gonna be that stupid and dishonest and that obviously communistic, you're out. You're out. The movie industry glorifies sex abusers. What the fuck have you been watching, Grove? Yeah. No, Grover's out. He's here to fuck around. He's here not for this, not for the conversation here. He's here to spread his evil. Again, I don't debate with Muslims or leftists. I don't do that. I don't care to do that. They're fundamentally liars. This idea where we have to debate everyone every time, fuck that. I got no time to waste. I'm not going to debate liars who always lie. Again, their ideas are fundamentally dishonest, and they lie like they breathe. This idea that we have to debate them is like the dummy Dave Smith wants to debate everyone. Fuck out of here. You suck. Um, huh. Delaware comic dude, Super Cook. That'll be a new hero soon. That's right. But it's true, guys. I mean, look at this again. Super Cook in Manhattan is like, he hears that she's going to see Dryberg. He's like, either he's relieved, like, get this bitch off me, or he's like, I love being cucked. Because, he's smiling for the first time here. And again, he doesn't care about anything, right? Nothing matters. All of a sudden, he's smiling. This cold-blooded being, this emotionless being, what's that about? I find that pretty. HUAC, yes. House Un-American Activities, yes. And again, it's McCarthy and all that, right? McCarthyism. Yeah, it had to be done, and it should be done today. It should be done today. Yeah, you're out, Grover. Any more guys? Please come on down. You'll be out too. Roxy and Chica, ever since the horrible ending to the movie, I've had an unhealthy amount of hate for Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, yeah. The book, also, again, a cold-blooded guy doesn't give a shit about the fate of the earth at all, right? Nothing. Is going to a different alternate universe as far as I think he ends up in a DC universe, right? At least if you take continuity seriously and you think that that's the same Manhattan as the one. House Un-American Activities Committee, right? Thanks, Headless Bourgeoisie. That's the exact name. And again, Rand was there and she was very clear. Ayn Rand was there. She spoke officially and she said, they're not going to come right out and communism good. No, that's not how they do it, these rats, these scum. They don't even admit that they're communists until they're in full-blown power. Then they come out of the closet, these rats. They deny that they're communists. They deny everything until it's too late. And that's why you have to call communists. They don't call themselves communists. We have to call them communists because that's what they are. I did Hamilton. It's horrific. It is horrific. But let's just keep going here. We've got a few pages left, and then we'll get going. Thanks for hearing, guys. Again, I don't mind this. I don't mind going back and forth with you guys and discussing this. And yeah, comic books and coots. If only HUAC had got more of those bums. Yeah, there's still an enemy within communist movement in America. There still is an enemy within Muslim movement in America. We have to recognize them as such. They are here to bring us down, nothing less. And that means that they're enemies and they have to be dealt with like enemies, legally. You can't come in here and try to subvert the country and take it over, overthrow it. You can't do that. That's illegal. You can't do that. There were laws against communists doing this before, and they're still in the books. We just have to be acted on. Trump saying, recently going after communists the way he did, good. I like that. That's good Trump. He's stupid Trump at times. Like saying that the Iranians are rational and good. It's just dumb, stupid shit talk. And then when he's asked, you said this, what changed? He goes, well, I met them. I don't have to meet the Ayatollahs to know that they're evil. But, whatever. Hopefully he deals with it. Look at this crystal knocked in the back there. Who watches the Watchmen on the wall? As in, okay, they're watching, but who watches them? Yeah, me neither. Braxton, yeah. Jeff Johns thought he could, I guess, in his own mind, continue this and have a black Rorschach. It's like, okay. Have Batman reading Rorschach's journal and have Superman facing Manhattan, and also had this strange subplot of a gay actor that kept going on for no reason. Maybe as a gay friend, he was trying to honor him through that. I don't know. it was a time when I guess when the trans shit was coming on hard. I don't know. I did at once. I did it once, maybe twice. 1 second, guys. My man, my man, Flady. Thanks again, Flady. Um, blue penis. I guess he's you know, I mean, you think about it, right? He's got blue balls, Dr. Manhattan. They don't show it yet here. I guess in the first issue, it's like, it's funny, right? It's like in the YouTube videos, if you don't curse, if you curse in the first few minutes, it could be a problem, but later on, it's okay. I guess in the first issue, they don't show his penis, but in the next issue, they do, and so on. I think there's something to that. Like, get the audience in and then hit him over the head with that. But he has literally blue balls, literally, right? And he's cooked, super cook. That's his real name. I wish Rorschach was able to see that. Say, you're happy she's going to go see Dryberg? What are you, a super cook? Thanks, man. My man Flady. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I was just told that the inventory is out. Just got that notification, so appreciate it, man. Thanks for your support, as always. I'll put in something also. Thanks, man. Yep, exactly right, Marcus Kilroy. What do you get? You get Mamdani, a communist Muslim communist. I think because again, in the moment of truth, he's a Muslim more than he is a communist. He's a collectivist either way, right? Not much different. Anti-life, anti-individualism, anti-America, anti-civilization. And this piece is trying to do as much damage as he possibly can to Islamize New York City. And he's on his way, and it's being allowed to happen. He should never have been able to win, but it was the foreign element in New York City that voted him in. The ones who don't give a rat's ass about America or New York City. That's how he got in. Thank the left for this, right? And also, if you notice, sometimes the voters, right, when it's a communist or a Muslim, they seem to be voting for Muslims right now. There's something to that as well. Something dangerous there. Let's see. Yeah, Delbert comic dude. Could you ever finish the novel entries at the end of each book? They were so long. I'm pretty obsessive about these things, so I can read. I reread Watchmen. I don't know. I can't even say half a dozen times maybe. Atlas Shrugged, 1,000-page novel, 15, 20 times. Fountainhead, 700 pages, 20 times. So I can do a lot. I can read. I read thousands of books, literally thousands of books ever since I was young. I was a hermit, out of my room, and devoured them. So for me, it doesn't matter. But if it's boring, then I can't. And some of it was boring. And there's also it's only bits and pieces of it. It's not like I keep saying bits and pieces. It's like that that one thing. 1 second, guys. Interesting. Hamilton Berger writes, did you hear that the Human Rights Museum in Canada had a display about the Nakba? Basically a one-sided account of the Middle East trying to fill in to wipe out Israel? No, I didn't. But it makes perfect sense. And in their mind, right, the existence of Israel was the greatest crime that ever happened in their universe, in their sick mind. Well, the greatest crime that ever happened to Muslims was Islam, to Arabs back in the day. there was a writer who wrote, "The first victims of Islam are Muslims," and that's absolutely true because they don't get to observe it on the outside. They're taken in by the inside and think it's good. No matter what is, no matter what it is, they think it's good. Um, Roxy and Chica, and they're not going to stop until the Civil War. Yeah, I honestly don't see any other way because they're indoctrinating kids by the thousands in schools. That's the thing. They will force us into a war. They will force Muslims and communists. They can't help it. They're not people of peace. They'll try to hide until they can't. And Muslims are the dumbest because they're out there on the streets. This is New Yorkistan, from Sneeko, right? This is New Yorkistan. We're gonna go to house. Communists are a little more stealth about it. They're not as obvious. At least the ones outside of TikTok, right? The ones who want real power are gonna keep a lid on it until it's too late for everyone. That's what they do. That's what they do. Um, Thanks again, man. Had to grab me some of the goods before there. Okay. Again, thank you, man. Thanks, lady. Appreciate it. Okay. Huh. Okay. I wonder what that is. I had to change the shopping buttons. I know that at one point. Maybe for that one, something happened. Were you able to get it though, Flatey? Let me know if you're able to get it. And if not, don't worry about it. I'll just pop it in there. Yes, that's for sure. Comic books includes the devil would get elected by the Pinkos. Um, Eldenberger writes, plus the New York Dems who didn't support Mom Downey couldn't couldn't come up with a better candidate than the political corpse of Andrew Cuomo to run against him. Sick, man, sick. He was politically dead. Everyone knew it. Patient of Judgment. The irony is progressive Winnipeg Jews were instrumental in building that museum. Sick, man. The self-loathing Jews, side with savage Muslims against Israel. It's pretty damn sick. But the idea, okay, that's bad, right? But then to blame it on Jews because of that, it's like, no. Okay. Thanks, lady. I didn't notice that. I just got some notifications, but after the fact, okay. But thanks again, man. Appreciate it. Always appreciate your support. Anyone else, guys, you guys can go to my store, boxfalls.com. I have a number of items still. I have the Muhammad flip book, which features Pigman in there. A number of prints still. Trump war paint. I have the Iran, which is still, the jury's still out, and if Trump's going to take care of business or not. But today it's better than it was last week, 2 weeks ago, because Marco Rubio is smiling. It's true. When Trump was blowing Iranians, the Ayatollah was saying, "Oh, they're rational, they're good," right? You saw Marco like this, and now he's saying they're scum. Marco's like, "Yeah." Why? Because the truth is music to his ears. That's why. Marco Rubio is the guy who understands communism, and therefore he understands, I think, Islam. He's the guy who's shipping out these rat fucks from my country who are here to cause trouble, to undermine the country, to subvert it. Whenever he can, he's picking these guys off and sending them back to their hellholes. I love that. I love it. Oh yeah, Flatty. Their mouthpieces will be the first to go if they do take power. They always go first, absolutely. What they do to the, my God, to the Yazidi is horrifying. That's the thing. It's like it's almost impossible to read the reports of the of some of these horrors that jihadists commit. It's almost impossible if you're a human being. I believe I had to sit through some of the beheadings. I don't recommend it, guys. Don't do it. That's all I'll say. I learned nothing new. Sick to my stomach seeing a human being get, mutilated while they're screaming Allahu Akbar. It's horror. And had in my stupid head, I was like, I need to go through this. I need to experience this because I'm writing about this. No. It's like, again, I don't need to meet the Ayatollah. No, he's a scumbag who deserves death. I don't need to meet him. I know. Anyway, let me finish this up. Good give and take, though, guys. Appreciate it, man. Yes, Marcus, right. More people in New York City voted against Mamdani but the city has that rank choice voting that got him in. That's the thing. They needed. They got him in without a majority. That's the way most of the prime ministers in Europe get in. Also, a very small minority. Roxy and Chico, right? Yeah, as a Jewish man, that pissed me off more than anything. Jews supporting Muslims is literally the equivalent of Jews supporting Hitler. It is, 100% it is. And again, it's one thing to acknowledge that there are self-loathing Jews who support jihad, right, and support Hamas against Israel and all that, right, is one thing. But then to blame Jews for mass immigration across the world, with Muslims going to civilize the world, how? Well, that's stupid. Also, apartheid, genocide. There were 2 million Muslims in Israel. How many Jews are in Gaza and critical Palestine? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's right, lady. I just hope Trump can push through as much as possible before his term's end. I feel the election cycle in 2028 will be a nightmare. I think so too, but at the same time, I don't. People think that the left will be a shoo-in because, well, it's us, it's them. It's like, no. No, who do they have? They have scum of the earth. And if you get a decent candidate like Rubio, who I think has been one of the brightest lights in the Trump administration, he's never said anything I think that I disagree with. It's hard to believe, but the politician, right? He's been great on the Islamic enemy, great on the communist enemy, shipping out these rats, great on those shows when they challenge him, great about America and its value to the world. Far 10 times more articulate than Trump. Sometimes I wish he were president. And J.D. Vance is like a child compared to Rubio, and his alliance with Tucker has fucked him, I think. But Tucker wants to start a third party, and your boy, what's gonna be your boy's gonna go for it? It's not gonna happen. He's doing a third party to make the left win. Let me finish this, guys, and then get going. Again, this is longer than I intended, but hey, man, that's the nature of this live show. I'm gonna interact with you guys. People don't go with the chat. I got one asshole here out of all you guys have been great. You got one guy coming in here to fuck around. Well, he's out. I don't debate leftists or Muslims. There's nothing to debate. Nothing. You give them credit by sitting there and trying to rationalize, to be rational with them. They're going to lie every single time. You can't call them on every lie because they're always lying. The whole debate will be, you lied. Here. No. Who has time for that? Those things that Piers Morgan has, they're not debates. They're just clicks. That's it. Click things. There's nothing resolved. There's nothing. You have a truth teller and then you have a liar. Yeah, and Rorschach's Journal, October 13, 1985, 11:30 p.m. On Friday night, a comedian died in New York. Someone threw him out of a window, and when he hit the sidewalk, his head was driven up into his stomach. Nobody cares. Nobody cares but me. Are they right? Let me think about this. Think about the severe loneliness here of Rorschach. Even his teammates don't give a shit. They're indifferent to it. Patrick, you're just trashing him, because of the situation with the mother, but she doesn't know the full extent. We find out later, but nobody cares but me. It's interesting to see Rorschach is almost what was me, but it's not quite, because he's not that character. He's not that guy, but it's almost there. It's as close as a character like him can get. But it's true also. Nobody does give a shit. Nobody cares. Nobody cares but me. Are they right? Is it futile? Soon there will be war. Millions will burn. Millions will perish in sickness and misery. It's not inevitable. You have Superman on your Earth, right? Who can avert this? Who can stop it? Who can denuke Russia? Chooses not to. Chooses to go here again. Takes apart technology and looks at it and loves being cucked by his girlfriend to Dryberg. And again, literally has blue balls. That's right. Hamilton Tucker saw H. Ross Perot and said, "Hold my soy beer." Absolutely right. Yeah. Sure. They are a Roxy and Chica, and they will do as much damage as they possibly can. But again, you get a decent candidate like Rubio up against any of these savages. I think he can take them out. I think he can because debate wise, they have nothing against him. Again, they will lie, they will steal, they will cheat, they will do everything. But in the country, the media will try to make it seem like it's been a horrific presidency. I would love Trump if he did more and said more and did more. I would. The economy and so on, get out of the way more, take care of our enemies more. But his rhetoric has been good in the last week about communists. I love when Trump speaks like that. I love it. We need more of that. Condemning communism as a threat to civilization at large. Good stuff. True stuff. Ha! Rubio has Latin Emperor Caudillo. Is that Caudillo or Caudillo? Caudillo energy. Love that man. It's surprising. I mean, he's a politician. I forgot about Rubio years ago after the Tea Party stuff, right? He became a typical politician in a lot of ways. Man, talk about reinventing yourself as the ultimate statesman. The ultimate statesman. Love it. Love it. Um, okay. Are they right? Is it futile? Yeah, he has to remind himself here, right? This is, again, the only moral force in this entire book, Rorschach. The only moral adventure here. Soon there will be war. Millions will burn. Millions will perish in sickness and misery. Why does one death matter against so many? Because he's an individual. He's an individualist here. Because there is good and there is evil. And evil must be punished, even in the face of Armageddon. I shall not compromise in this. I mean, again, have you ever read dialogue like this by Alan Moore anywhere else? No. Why? Because he was channeling Ayn Rand / Ditko. Question, Mr. A. This is not Alan Moore's language. He doesn't speak in moral terms like this. Not in his interviews, surely not in his books, but here we go again. Why does one death matter against so many? Because there is good and there is evil, and evil must be punished. Even in the face of Armageddon, I shall not compromise in this. Immortal dialogue. Fucking love it. But there are so many deserving of retribution, and there is so little time. And here's Nixon, I think in his 4th term, he's going for a 5th one, I believe. I think that's the twisted notion that Moore has about our politics in America. Again, he can say what he wants here, but he didn't place this in London. He places the main story here in New York City. He understands that America is a global, thing. It's not just itself, unlike any other country. It dominates the conversation, dominates the world in a lot of ways. And the one thing that most dominates is this factor that they deny. The fact that we are the sole superpower who is benign, relatively speaking. Benign. Any other country had this kind of power. We live in a very, very different, darker world. Our founders built this country to last. I mean, well, I guess it's getting pretty late. So this is Dryberg and Uspechik. on their date. Well, I guess it's getting pretty late. It's been a great evening, Lori. You're sure you won't let me pick up the tab? It's funny, I call them by their last names. I call Rorschach by his first name always, and also Walter Kovacs. He's the only, again, moral avenger in this entire story. And we spent a lot of time with him in his first issue, a lot of time. Moore can say what he wants, but who was the most highlighted character in this opening? I think Moore, he will never probably admit it, but he was fascinated by Rorschach. Fascinated by him channeling the question and Mr. A. I think that's because he understood. Without this guy, I think this story is weak. It's limp. So I gotta spend a lot of time with him here. He would never admit that, but I think that is the case here. It's been a great evening, Lori. You're sure you won't let me pick up the tab? Nah. If I'm gonna be a kept woman for the military secret weapon, then the military can stand me a bowl of spaghetti africaine every once in a while. Hey, you sound bitter. No, not really. It's just that the only reason I'm kept around is to keep John relaxed and happy. That's a little more, I think, self-aware than I would have given her credit for, actually. Because I read this again and again, but this seems to be hitting me right now. She's like conscious of it, right? It's just that the only reason I'm kept around is to keep John relaxed and happy. Yeah, to keep this living, breathing nuclear bomb, this human bomb, humanized still to some extent. We can't let him go off the deep end and become disconnected with humanity, therefore us, and our not control of him. They try to ingratiate themselves with him because they can't control him. If they piss him off too much, he'll just leave. And he doesn't, the president asked me to do this, I'll do it. It's like, do you have any agency? Any? Is everything okay with you and John? Clearly it isn't, right? You're having a romantic date there. She got decked out with a very sexy dress, right? Me and John? Oh, yeah, everything's fine. Couldn't be better. It's just I keep thinking, I'm 35. What have I done? I spent 8 years in semi-retirement, preceded by 10 years of running around in a stupid costume because my stupid mother wanted me to. You remember that costume? With that stupid little short skirt and the neckline going down to my navel? God, that was so dreadful. This is very good, by the way. Very funny. God, yes. Dreadful. Hilarious. I like it. And again, just another factor here. Gibbons not wrote, but he had a lot to do with, I guess, the telling that they spent hours on the phone together, hours and hours and hours. He penciled, inked, and lettered it. So this is full commitment here, which I really respect. The consistency factor, the uniqueness of the narration by Rorschach, the font that he uses there, different than the other font, right? Small case, openings each time. The ends are a small case, the A's here. Good stuff. And there's very different, very rough balloons. Look at this. Edgy. Literally edgy. I like the more streamlined, the more fully formed circles and ovals and stuff, but it's interesting. I like when artists try to go his own way. Dave Mazzucchelli, guys, if you read Asterios Polyp, every single character in there, even if the minor ones, have their own word balloons shape and fonts. He individualized every single character's font. That's incredible. That kind of commitment. But these are the greats, so you got to give it to them. Yeah, me too, Roxanne Chica. And I think Rubio's having an influence on Trump about that, about the communist issue, because again, Rubio comes from Cuba, his family, right? Cubans hate communists. The ones in America hate them. That's why they're not considered the good immigrants by the left. It's a fact. They don't like Cuban immigrants at all because they are always willing to express how evil communism is. Anyway, uh, I love that right there. God, yes, dreadful. He's almost getting turning red. You know, when I think back, why did we do it? Why did we dress up like that? The Keene Act was the best thing that ever happened to us. Yeah, you're probably right. They don't believe a word of it. They don't believe a word of what they're saying. They're miserable. They're bored out of their skulls. They were quote unquote superheroes, right? And now they're just burnt out, looking at their past, bitching and moaning. Hey, you remember that guy? The one who pretended to be a supervillain so he could get beaten up? Oh, you mean Captain Carnage? He was one for the books. She goes, "You're telling me? I remember I caught him coming out of this jeweler's. I didn't know what his racket was. I start hitting him, and I think, geez, he's breathing funny. Does he have asthma?" He tried that with me, only I'd heard about him, so I just walked away. She laughs. He follows me down the street, broad daylight, right? He's saying, "Punish me." I'm saying, "No, get lost." Whatever happened to him? Well, he pulled it on Rorschach, and Rorschach dropped him down an elevator shaft. Oh, God, I'm sorry. That isn't funny. No, I guess it's not. They're laughing their asses off. Geez, that felt good. There don't seem to be so many laughs around these days. Well, what do you expect? The comedian is dead. I love this because it opens up with Rorschach and closes. Rorschach gave him a good laugh. Again, Rorschach dominated this issue, dominated it. The opening issue of his epic, against his will, against his will. And then he has his fanciful quotes. Bob Dylan: "At midnight, all the agents and superhuman crew go out and round up everyone who knows more than they do." I'm not going to read this stuff here. Read it on your own. I'm just not going to just read out. This is a comic book review, but I know I read it at least once. I'm good. Under the Hood, I like it because it's taken two ways. He's a mechanic, and also he was a crime fighter. This is a great ending, and it's funny, generally funny. The guy pulled in a Rorschach. Punish me, punish me. Drop him down an elevator shaft. That's hilarious. And whatever happened to him, he goes, well, he pulled it, as in, I don't think he made it. I don't think he made it. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks, lady. Appreciate your support, as always. And guys, yeah, do go to my store, bossfawson.com. Check out my store and see what's going on there. Flee says, "I can almost hear Eddie Money's. I want to go back, play in the background for that last scene." I know Eddie Money, tits was shaking. Yeah, that one lyric was like, what the hell? He was a cop. I remember my brother said he was on the beach, I guess in Jersey, right? And Eddie Money was doing a show. Not a big crowd. He was after the first song. He was exhausted. Eddie Money was exhausted. That's hilarious to me. Thanks, Delaware Comics. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, lady. As always, appreciate it, man. I can't say exactly when issue 2 will be, but I will make note of it at least a day before and go through the same stuff and just have a conversation, give and take. And I always appreciate you guys, go back and forth with it. Again, I'm told don't read the chat. Fuck that. If there are rats in there, sure, I'll get rid of them, like I got rid of this one guy. And it was so stupid. Again, they do this. They're so bad with it, right? Leftists, so bad. So we're talking about indoctrination, right? Indoctrination. And he yaps about. he turns the whole meaning of the word indoctrination into something else. That's what they do. Again, they always redefine words, right? Redefine women, redefine men. I can't find him now because I guess he's out, and therefore he's not. Anyway, they want to redefine everything. Yeah, the Amadeus indoctrinated me into music. That's not what indoctrination means, dummy. But someone asked a question here also. Pantheon says Laurie's reaction to Rorschach was so strong. I think she was more like her mother in a strange way. I think she was attracted to Rorschach. It's very possible she saw an alpha male there, right? Telling things as they are, and turned on by it because right next to her is this dead man who's a cold fish, right? Who loves being cooked. So, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah, hit that like button, guys, please, and subscribe to my channel as well, and share this if you like it. And I want to continue this, but again, I can't say 100% when it'll be, but I will definitely let you guys know. I already have all of the YouTube episode covers of this. I went through the entire series and highlighted. I went real close up to these things, and you could tell which issue they are if you know the series. So it's pretty cool. Like I did with the cover for this one, just the smiley face with a little bud. Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Pleasure as always, and be here for next time. Take care. Be well. Have a great night, guys. Thank you.